The microphone in David's hand shook, but he squeezed it tighter and smiled like a champion. Cameras flashed, staff clapped. A bright red carpet ran across the compound of Northside Holdings, a famous company in Lagos, with glass walls that glittered in the morning. Sunday banners waved. "Welcome our new manager." "Good morning, everyone," David said, voice loud and proud. "Today marks a new chapter for Northside." He paused. His eyes were not on the crowd. They were on the gate. He was searching for someone. He wanted Sonia to be there. Not because he missed her. Not because he loved her. He wanted her to watch him shine. He wanted her to feel small. The gate began to open. A black Bentley rolled in, slow and smooth, like it knew it owned the ground it touched. Two tall security guards walked beside it, eyes set, shoulders straight. The crowd began to whisper. Even the photographer lowered his camera. The Bentley stopped at the carpet. The back door opened. A woman stepped out in an expensive Ankara gown with gold jewelry that caught the light. Her wig lay gently on her shoulders. Her chin was high. Her smile was calm. It was Sonia. The MC raised the microphone, his voice rising over the buzz. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "stand as we welcome the new CEO of Northside Holdings, Mrs. Sonia Adiele." Everywhere, people stood, heads bowed, palms clapped, phones tilted up to record. David's face went pale. "How?" he said. But it burst out by mistake, louder than a whisper, softer than a shout. "How can she be the CEO?" Sonia did not look shocked. She looked ready. She moved down the red carpet with the two guards behind her, the crowd parting on both sides like water, and as she climbed the stage to stand next to David, the whole company held its breath. 2 days earlier, the night Lagos held its heat like a secret. David had danced alone in his small living room. He waved a paper letter in the air and laughed, a wild, happy sound. The letter was thick. The logo at the top was bold. Northside Holdings appointment. Manager. He had finally made it. The call had come that evening. A smooth voice from HR, a polite congrats, a neat salary, benefits, a car, a driver, a house allowance, a promise of respect. He had wanted this for years. He turned to the bedroom door. "Sonia," he called. "Come and see something." Sonia came out, wiping her hands on a towel, a little flour still on her fingers from baking meat pies they sold on Sundays to pay bills. She had a quiet smile, the kind that stayed even when life was hard. Her eyes shone. "What is it?" she asked. David held up the letter like a trophy. "Your husband is the new manager of Northside Holdings." Sonia's mouth fell open, and then she clapped both hands over it and laughed. "David, are you serious? Oh my God, thank you, Jesus." She ran forward, hugging him tight. "I'm so proud of you. This is the start we prayed for." But his embrace hardened, and then it dropped away. The joy on his face folded into something else sharp, cold. "Pack your things," he said. Sonia blinked. "What?" "I said, pack your things," David repeated. He walked to the table, pulled a white envelope from under the appointment letter, and dropped it at her feet. "It's over between us." She stared at the envelope like it might bite her. "David, what is this?" "A divorce letter," he said. "I've made my decision." Sonia looked up, eyes full, voice small. "Is this a joke?" "David, we've been together for 5 years. We fought for each other when no one believed in us. I sold my jewelry when you needed money for that exam. We prayed every night, we prayed." He cut in, hard. "I'm not in your class again." The words hit like a slap. "From now on, I need a woman who matches my level. A wife who can stand in the kind of places I'm going. You're not that woman." Silence filled the room like smoke. Sonia's fingers trembled as she opened the envelope. The paper inside was real, stamped, signed, cold. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Tears did instead. "David," she whispered, "don't do this, please. Don't throw us away because of a title, please." He looked over her shoulder, past her, through her, like she had become a wall he could not be bothered to paint. "I'm done," he said. He walked to the door, opened it, and held it wide. The corridor outside was dark. The night smelled like dust and fuel. "Get out." Sonia stepped back, shocked. "In the night?" "David, please. Neighbors will see David." He turned his face away from her, pleading, and stood still as a stone. She wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. She lifted her small suitcase from under the bed. She took 2 dresses, a toothbrush, a photo of them smiling on a beach, and the recipe book her mother gave her before she died. She paused by the door, one last time, hoping for anything soft. "Don't make me beg you," she said gently. "You'll hate yourself tomorrow." He closed the door in her face. The lock clicked. Sonia stood alone in the hallway with the suitcase handle in her hand, the paper letter still burning in her chest like a hot nail. For one long minute, she did not move. Then she pulled out her phone and called her sister. "Cynthia, can I come?" Cynthia arrived in 10 minutes, hair in a scarf, slippers on. She hugged Sonia, tucked her into the car, and drove to Lekki through the quiet streets. In the living room at home, Sonia told her everything, every word, every look, every silence. Cynthia's jaw tightened. He said, "You're not in his class again? This same David we fed when he had nothing?" Sonia gave a small broken laugh. Sometimes, God opens the ground to show people what they have buried. As she spoke, her phone buzzed. A new message. She lifted it. "Read it." The corner of her mouth lifted the way a sunrise lifts a city soft and sure. "Who is it?" Cynthia asked. Sonia turned the screen so her sister could see. The message was from an unknown number, but the tone was not unknown at all. It was proud, loud, cruel. "Hello, bad luck. This is an invitation to you to attend my official resumption as the new manager of the famous Northside Holdings tomorrow, to witness what it means to have good luck in life. Who knows, that gate man may see you and have interest in you." Cynthia gasped. "He sent you this? After what he did?" Sonia nodded. The smile didn't reach her eyes, but it stood without shaking. "Will you go?" Cynthia asked. "Yes," Sonia said. Cynthia blinked. "To watch him? To let him mock you?" Sonia folded the phone and held it in both hands like a small book. "To watch him, yes, but not to be mocked." Cynthia frowned. "Sonia, talk to me. What is happening?" Sonia took a long breath and let it out slowly. 10 years of waiting sat in that breath. 10 years of lawyers and letters. 10 years of family fights that moved like storms, loud, wild, then quiet again. 2 days before, a court had read her late father's will one final time. The judge had spoken. The old arguments died. Northside Holdings, the company her father built stone by stone, was in Sonia's share. By name, by law, by blood, she had signed the final paper with a calm hand and thought of her father's eyes. She was the owner now, and, wanting to heal her home, she had used her first quiet act of power to approve the best name for manager. The HR team had recommended one man with strong results, bold ideas, and a hunger to prove himself. David. She did not tell him. She wanted him to feel the joy of a gift that came without begging. She wanted him to feel safe. He had chosen to stand on a knife instead. Sonia looked at Cynthia and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'll go," she said again, steady, "and I will walk in with my head high." Cynthia nodded slowly. "Then I'm going with you." Morning painted the sky over Victoria Island. Northside's compound bloomed with people and colour. A red carpet cut through the grey interlocking tiles. Strings of balloons swayed in the light breeze. A live band tested their drums. Staff wore bright smiles and neat badges. David arrived first, in a navy blue suit, tie tight, shoes cold and shiny. He shook hands like a king and posed for photos like a billboard. He kept looking at the gate. He wanted the moment they had planned. Sonia at the edge of his light, standing where the guards stood, watching him rise without her. He lifted the microphone and began to speak, but the gate caught his eye and held it. Because it was opening. Because a black Bentley was gliding in like a secret finally told. Because 2 security guards were walking beside it like pages to a queen. The MC, who had been waiting for a signal only a few people knew, put a hand to his earpiece, then lifted the mic high. "Ladies and gentlemen," he called, voice strong. "Please stand and welcome the new CEO of Northside Holdings, Mrs. Sonia Adiele." The sound inside David's head turned to snow. Sonia stepped out of the car. She moved down the red carpet. Staff bowed. Phones shook. David's throat dried like paper. How can she be the CEO? He heard himself say, and the words hung in the air like a bell you couldn't unring. Sonia walked up the steps and stopped beside him. She faced the crowd, then turned to him. Up close, her eyes were calm. But there was a storm far behind them, one he could not reach. The MC offered her the microphone. Sonia took it. She leaned in a little, lips close to the silver head of the mic. The whole compound waiting to hear her first words as the woman he had thrown away and the boss he would now have to face. She opened her mouth to speak, and a voice from the far end of the carpet shouted her name. Every head snapped toward the gate. Sonia! The shout came from the far end of the red carpet. Heads turned. A grey-haired man in a dark suit hurried forward with a brown envelope held like a crown. 2 court officials walked beside him. Barrister Kenne, Sonia said with a calm smile. He bowed slightly and lifted his voice so the staff could hear. Ladies and gentlemen, by the ruling of the High Court, delivered 2 days ago, and by the will of the late Chief Adiele, read and affirmed, Northside Holdings is now legally under the control of Mrs. Sonia Adiele. These are the final papers. The murmurs melted into applause. Some people sighed in relief, as if a rumor had finally found its proof. The band began a soft roll on the drums. Cameras clicked. David stood frozen. His smile cracked like glass. Sonia thanked the lawyer, handed the envelope to the MC, and turned to the microphone. She faced the crowd, but her eyes didn't run from the truth. She held it steady. "Good morning, Northside," she said. "Today, we begin again. My father built this company on 3 things: hard work, clean hands, and brave ideas. That is how we will move from good to great." She paused, letting the words sink in. "You have heard my name, but I want you to hear our plan." She lifted one finger. "First, we will clean our systems and pay our debts on time. A company is a promise. We keep promises here. Second finger. We will build a new products wing to serve schools and hospitals, not just big malls. My father always said, if the poor cannot buy what you sell, you must sell something better. And maybe the Grinkazalung on first base is if. Third finger. We will create a talent school inside Northside. We will train our own people. No cousin network, no friend network. Merit. Heir. The staff clapped. Some even cheered. The band hit a brighter note. Sonia waited, then raised her palm, and the noise fell gently. "And now," she said, turning slightly toward David, "to our new manager." David swallowed. He could feel the heat of 1,000 eyes. "Many of you may ask," Sonia went on, voice even, "why keep a manager who is new to our house? The answer is simple. Results. We looked at data. We looked at projects he led. We looked at how he fixed a failing store in Yaba with a simple inventory plan and clear targets. We did not choose him because of a last name or a handshake. We chose him because he can do the work." David blinked. He had never told Sonia those stories. How did she? His stomach tightened. Sonia faced him fully now. "Mr. David," she said, the mic still in her hand, "you will work directly under me. You will report to me. I will give you directives. You will lead the store network and the sales teams, not as a king, but as a builder. Do your job, and Northside will clap for you. Fail, and Northside will move on. That is my promise to you, and to everyone here. A clean, firm line, not revenge, not sugar, just a line." She turned back to the staff. "Welcome to a new chapter." The place erupted. The band jumped into a high-life tune. Staff crowded forward for handshakes. HR brought a slim folder and a pen. Security shifted, scanning gently. Somewhere, a drone rose, the little camera eye blinking. David stood there, skin hot, smile fixed, heart racing. He felt like a boy who had brought a stone to throw and found himself staring at a mountain. The ceremony pushed forward like a river. Photos with team leads, a quick ribbon at the lobby, a tour of the new warehouse model on a large screen. Through it all, David's thoughts ran wild. Work under her? Report to her? After last night? After the text? He remembered the message he sent with his chest, the one that called her bad luck. He remembered hitting send with a smile. Now she was his boss. He tried to breathe. He tried to stand tall. He tried not to look like a man who wanted the floor to open and swallow him. HR's head, a smart woman named Ada, stepped up beside him. "Manager David," she said softly, "please sign your onboarding forms and the code of conduct note. Then join the CEO in conference room A." Her tone was warm, but her eyes were sharp, like a teacher who had seen boys like him and would not be fooled by cheap pride. David signed. His hand shook so much he had to steady the paper with his other palm. "Thank you," Ada said. And congratulations. He wanted to answer. All that came out was air. Conference room A smelled like new chairs and lemon polish. Glass walls looked over the city and the sea beyond it. The table was long, the kind that made you feel smaller than your own name. Sonia stood at the head with a tablet. Barrister Kene sat to her left, flipping through notes. Ada took a seat and opened a slim laptop. Two board members joined by video, their faces inside quiet squares on a big screen. David walked in and stopped at the end of the table, unsure if he should sit. Good, Sonia said, not unkind. We'll be brief. Saturday. Sonia tapped her tablet and the big screen changed to a slide. 90 days. 5 targets. We will start with simple numbers, she said. Target 1. Reduce stockouts by 40% in 6 pilot stores. Target 2. Improve delivery speed by 25% on island routes. Target 3. Close 3 deadweight vendor contracts. Target 4. Train 20 high-potential staff for the talent school. Target 5. Open 1 low-cost store near a public hospital Ikorodu General or Ikeja. She looked up. You will lead day to day. My office will clear what needs board approval. David nodded, relieved to hear work talk, not war talk. I can do that, he said, finding his voice. I already have ideas from my last projects. Good, Sonia said. You will present a 90-day plan by Friday 10 a.m. to the board. Today is Tuesday. David swallowed. 3 days. Not impossible. Not easy. Ada slid a white envelope across to him. Standard code of conduct, she said. Please read and sign by close of day. He knew what that meant. No insults. No harassment. No public shame. No texts that could burn the building. His face warmed. Any questions? Sonia asked. David opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Why? Why didn't you fire me? The room went still. Even the sea outside seemed to hold its breath. Sonia's answer was plain. Because the company needs skills. Because people make mistakes when pride is louder than wisdom. Because my father taught me that mercy is cheaper than war and more powerful. Code 4. She let that sit. Then, but mercy is not blindness. Do your work. Respect people. Keep our house clean. David's eyes stung. He blinked hard. I'm sorry, he said. The word felt heavy and true. For everything. Sonia's face did not soften, but something in her gaze did. Noted, she said. Now we move. A soft knock at the door. The MC peeked in. Ma'am, the press is in the lobby for a 2-minute photo with the new CEO and manager. Sonia nodded. We'll be there. She gathered her tablet. David stood. His legs felt steadier now. He could work. He would work. He would bury his ego and build something he could point at, without shame. They stepped into the hallway. The air smelled like coffee and fresh paint. Staff turned and straightened as Sonia passed. Some smiled at David. Some did not. People watch. People remember. At the lobby, cameras flashed again. Sonia and David stood side by side, not touching, eyes forward. Barrister Kene stood a step behind. Ada watched the lines around the room with a calm face. Then the revolving door at the front slowed and opened. A tall man in a charcoal suit walked in, soft steps, a quiet kind of power. He was light-skinned, clean-shaven, with thoughtful eyes and a neat tie. He carried nothing but a small leather folder. Security nodded him through like he was known. The PR team straightened. The MC's voice rose. Please welcome Mr. Jeremy Cole, Regional Director for Skybridge Capital. David's chest tightened. He had seen the name in business news. Skybridge had money and reach. They chose their partners carefully. If they were here, it meant something big was coming, and whoever spoke to them first would shape it. Jeremy's eyes found Sonia as if they had done it 100 times. He smiled, not wide, but warm. Sonia's face stayed professional, but a light moved behind her eyes, the kind that no camera could fully catch. Jeremy offered a hand. Congratulations, Mrs. Adiele, he said. His voice was low. Sure. We're excited to explore what we discussed. What we discussed. David felt the words like a tap on the shoulder. How much had she already lined up? How long had she been building this morning behind the curtain? Sonia shook his hand. Thank you, Mr. Cole. We'll brief the board at noon. Jeremy nodded, then glanced at David. You must be the new manager. David forced a smile. Yes, David. Good, Jeremy said. We love builders. The PR team guided them to a small stage for one last photo. Sonia in the center, Jeremy at her right, David at her left. 3 points of a triangle that did not feel equal. As the cameras flashed, a security guard hurried from the entrance, whispering into his earpiece. He reached Ada and spoke fast. Ada's face changed. She moved to Sonia and leaned in. Ma'am, she said quietly, you need to see this. It's urgent. Sonia turned slightly. What is it? Ada held up her phone. On the screen was a screenshot of a message sent to the CEO's private number last night, bold, cruel, and gleaming with pride. Hello, bad luck. A hush fell over the PR team as Sonia read. Ada's voice dropped lower. It traced the sender. It's confirmed. David's throat closed. Sonia lifted her eyes from the phone and looked at him calm, unreadable. Manager David, she said softly. Follow me to the conference room. Now. The board is seated. The doors to the corridor swung open, and waiting at the head of the long table, beside Barrister Kenne's empty chair, sat Jeremy Cole, hands folded, eyes steady, ready to hear everything. The conference room was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. Sunlight cut through the glass wall, landing on the polished table where the board members sat in tense expectation. Sonia stood tall at the head of the table. Jeremy Cole leaned back, calm as ever, flipping a page in his leather folder. Barrister Kenne adjusted his glasses, his eyes darting between Sonia and David. David entered, his legs heavy, his throat dry. The echo of his own footsteps felt like hammers. He took a seat at the far end of the table, across from Sonia. Everyone's eyes followed him like judges waiting for a confession. Sonia didn't waste time. She placed Ada's phone flat on the table, its screen glowing. The words on the screen pierced through David's chest like a blade. Hello, bad luck. The very message he sent Sonia the night before. A murmur rippled through the boardroom. One of the directors on the video screen frowned. Jeremy looked at David, curious, but not unkind. Sonia's voice was steady. This message came from the new manager's phone. Our IT team verified it. He sent this to me yesterday evening before stepping into this company's gate. All eyes locked on David. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Sweat broke on his forehead. Barrister Keeney cleared his throat. Mr. David, do you deny sending this? David stared at the phone. The words danced before his eyes. His pride screamed, lie, deny it. But his conscience pressed hard against his chest. Finally, he whispered, I did. The room went still. One board member hissed, unbelievable. Another muttered, how can we trust him? David clenched his fists under the table. He felt the walls close in. His plan to humiliate Sonia had boomeranged with the force of thunder. Sonia leaned forward slightly. This company does not run on ego, she said. It runs on discipline and respect. If our new manager cannot understand that, then perhaps his chapter here should end before it begins. The words struck David like a whip. End? Fired before even starting? His dream, his chance at proving himself, collapsing in a single breath? But then Jeremy spoke for the first time. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Mrs. Adiele, if I may. The board turned to him. Sonia nodded slowly. Jeremy clasped his hands. I've sat in many boardrooms. I've seen managers fall for worse sins, embezzlement, fraud, betrayal. This, he tapped the phone screen lightly, is foolish. Yes. But it is also recoverable. If the man has skills, and I believe you said he does, then perhaps this humiliation can become his fire. Perhaps the shame can mold him into something better. The room shifted. Some nodded, others frowned. Sonia's eyes narrowed, thoughtful. David looked at Jeremy, stunned. A lifeline? Could this stranger really be defending him? Sonia tapped her pen against the table. You suggest we keep him? Jeremy smiled faintly. I suggest you test him. If he succeeds, the company gains. If he fails, then he digs his own grave, and no one will argue when he's gone. And as the Benetted, the board members murmured. Barrister Keene adjusted his glasses again. That is fair. Sonia's gaze moved back to David. Her eyes were sharp, but not merciless. You heard him, David. This is your last rope. You will deliver the 5 targets I gave you in 90 days. No excuses. No arrogance. Fail, and you're finished not just here, but everywhere your name is spoken in this industry. David swallowed hard and nodded. I understand. Good. Sonia turned to the board. Let it be recorded. Manager David remains for now. His probation is 90 days. His performance will decide his fate. The secretary scribbled quickly. The gavel of the moment fell. Decision sealed. David sat back, his heart pounding. Relief mixed with fear. He had been spared, yes, but at what cost? The boardroom now saw him as a man on trial. One mistake, and he would be erased. Sonia rose, gathering her files. Meeting adjourned. Mr. Cole, kindly join me in my office. We have much to discuss. Jeremy stood, graceful, his eyes flicking once more to David, almost as if to say, don't waste this chance. The boardroom emptied slowly. David remained seated, staring at the empty screen, the glowing city beyond the glass. His hands trembled. He had come here to bury his ex-wife, but now she held his career, his name, and his pride in her palm. And she wasn't crushing him. Not yet. Outside, in the corridor, Sonia and Jeremy walked side by side. Their voices dropped low, their tones serious. David could not hear, but he could see. The way Jeremy leaned close, the way Sonia nodded slowly, the way they spoke like two people who already shared secrets. A chill ran down David's spine. What exactly was their connection? He stood, gathering his folder. 90 days. That was all he had. 90 days to prove himself, to survive, and perhaps, just perhaps, to win back more than his pride. But as he stepped out into the corridor, he caught sight of Sonia's face through the glass wall of her office. She was laughing softly at something Jeremy said, a laugh he hadn't heard in years, and David knew then this was no ordinary trial. This was a battlefield. The office lights glowed faintly as evening fell over Lagos Island. From the 12th floor of Northside Holdings, David sat alone at his desk, staring at the empty pages of a report he was supposed to deliver by morning. His tie hung loose, his hands trembled, and his mind replayed the boardroom humiliation like a broken record. 90 days. That was all Sonia gave him. 90 days to either rise or crumble. 2 days later, Sonia summoned him to the executive boardroom. He entered, trying to appear confident, but his heart thundered. Sonia stood at the head of the table, her Ankara gown glowing under the lights. Jeremy seated beside her, calm and unreadable. David, Sonia began, Northside's warehouse in Apapa has been leaking funds for months. Millions gone. You have 2 weeks to audit it, recover what you can, and restructure the department. If you fail, your 90 days will be cut to 24 hours. David's jaw tightened. So this is how she wants to play it? But Sonia wasn't done. And to ensure transparency, Jeremy will oversee your progress. Consider him your shadow. It is not the baiting that date. A ripple of laughter escaped from one of the directors in the corner. Jeremy only leaned back, eyes sharp, observing David like a man watching a chessboard. The next morning, David stormed into the Apapa warehouse with a small team. Workers froze when they saw him. He barked orders, demanding records, files, ledgers, but what he found chilled him. The accounts were doctored, receipts forged, stock lists missing. Someone inside was eating the company alive. And worse, whispers spread quickly. Nah, the new ogre be this. Nah, him way insult Madam CEO. The workers snickered behind his back. One evening, as David sat buried in documents, Jeremy appeared silently, like a shadow. You're drowning in numbers, he said softly. But the truth isn't in the files, it's in the people. David frowned. What do you mean? Jeremy gave a half smile. You think you're fighting Sonia, but your real enemy is sitting right under your nose. And with that, Jeremy walked away, leaving David in confusion. 3 nights later, David caught a clerk sneaking documents into a bag. He grabbed him by the collar. Who sent you? The terrified clerk stammered. Please, sir, I was told to cover up the missing shipments. If I speak, I'll be dead. David's blood ran cold. Someone higher up was orchestrating this. Someone inside the company was sabotaging the warehouse, and by extension, him. He returned to the office with the documents, only to find Sonia waiting. She glanced at the evidence, then looked straight into his eyes. You think this proves your worth? She said quietly. You've only scratched the surface. Until you bring me the name of the man stealing from us, you've done nothing. David clenched his fists. She was pushing him, cornering him. But the fire in Sonia's eyes wasn't just about money. It was personal. Late one night, David overheard two men at the warehouse loading trucks secretly. He followed from a distance, crouching in the shadows. The trucks rolled into a private yard belonging to Chief Adewale, one of Northside's biggest contractors and a close ally of Sonia's late father. David's mind spun. So the theft was protected? Or worse, was Sonia herself aware? He returned to his office, torn between fear and anger. If he exposed Chief Adewale, he might collapse an empire tied to Sonia's family. If he stayed quiet, he would lose everything. And then, a knock came. Jeremy stepped in, calm as ever. He placed a small envelope on David's desk. Inside were photographs, grainy shots of the very trucks David had just seen. Jeremy's eyes met his. "You're not as alone as you think. But if you want the truth, you'll have to decide whether you're saving this company or destroying it." Meanwhile, Sonia sat in her private office, staring at a framed photo of her late father. Her expression was unreadable, her fingers drumming on the table. She whispered almost to herself, "David thinks he's fighting me. He doesn't know he's fighting his own reflection." She turned to her secretary. "Prepare a press briefing. In 1 week, we announce the new restructuring plan. And tell the board if David fails, I'll replace him on the spot." Her smile was cold, sharp, and full of power. That night, David returned home, drained. He poured himself a glass of water and sat heavily on the couch. His phone buzzed. A text message blinked on the screen. "If you value your life, stop digging into the warehouse case. Anonymous." David's heart froze. His hands shook as he stared at the message. The battle wasn't just about his job anymore. It was about survival. The morning of the press briefing came with heavy rain pounding Lagos. The company compound was lined with reporters, their cameras flashing. Inside, tension gripped every corner of Northside Holdings. David adjusted his tie in the mirror, his heart racing. He had uncovered the theft, traced it to Chief Adewale, and gathered every document and photograph. But the anonymous threat still echoed in his mind. "If you value your life, stop digging." Yet he knew if he failed today, Sonia would bury him. The boardroom was packed. Sonia stood at the podium, elegant in her Ankara gown, gold earrings sparkling under the lights. Jeremy sat beside her, calm and unreadable. "Today," Sonia began, "we announce a new era for Northside Holdings. But before we proceed, there is a matter of integrity we must address." She turned to David. "Mr. Manager, tell us what you found." The room went silent. Reporters leaned forward. Board members whispered. David stepped up, his hands trembling slightly, but his voice firm. "The missing funds, the forged receipts, they all point to one man. Chief Adewale." Gasps filled the room. All eyes darted toward the contractor sitting among the guests. His face turned pale, then dark with fury. David slammed the evidence on the table. Photographs, documents, ledgers. He has been using Northside's warehouses as his private business. Millions stolen under everyone's nose. A storm of murmurs broke out. Cameras clicked wildly. Chief Adewale leapt to his feet. "Lies! This is a setup," he shouted. But Jeremy rose slowly, holding up the same photographs David had received. "These were taken by my team weeks ago. We gave David a chance to prove himself. And he has." The board turned in shock. Sonia's face remained calm, but her eyes glistened with restrained triumph. Chief Adewale realized he was cornered. Security guards moved closer. His empire had just collapsed in public view. Sonia stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. "Northside Holdings belongs to the future, not to thieves or men who think they can control it. Chief Adewale, you are hereby cut off from all contracts. As for our manager," she turned to David, "you have delivered. Against odds, against your own arrogance, you stood and faced the truth." David swallowed hard. For the first time, he saw not just power in Sonia's eyes, but a flicker of respect. The board members nodded. Jeremy clapped once, slow and deliberate. After the briefing, Sonia called David into her office. The rain outside had stopped, leaving the city bright and alive. "You tried to humiliate me," she said quietly. "But life humiliated you first. And yet, you rose. For that, I will not fire you. But don't mistake this for forgiveness. You will serve loyally, or lose everything again." David nodded, humbled. "I understand." As he left, Jeremy lingered. Sonia smiled faintly. You see why I kept him? Jeremy returned her smile. Yes, because sometimes the best revenge is turning your enemy into an ally. Sonia gazed out of the window, the city sprawling below. Her chapter of pain was closed. A new one had begun. And David, once full of pride, walked into it with nothing but humility, knowing that the woman he sought to disgrace now held the key to his destiny. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.